So my middle brother, out of the six of us, used to work in waste management up north in Yankeetown country, that area of the United States. And he shared with me a little bit about his work years ago and said that the industry really changed considerably kind of midstream in his career from a waste disposal mentality towards a materials management mentality. Basically going from trying to find a way to deal with and put away all of the waste so that it would never be seen or dealt with again in wastelands and what have you, to this management mentality where waste is reused and recycled, reduced, minimized, even restored for new people to experience these materials in different ways. Now, this isn't exactly a sexy topic to talk about in the sermon this morning. You probably wonder why I'm going here, but I do have a point. This sense of change of mindset really does have us face this sense where society, we, produce waste and often think about it having no further use, that it's only for us and what it can give to us in our lives. We bought it, we paid for it, and we're going to do away with it. My brother shared that this whole beginning of recycling and composting, water reuse, detractors often said that it was completely too expensive for the bottom line and didn't really want to look at waste as if it could be restored in any way. But for others, taking this rounded approach to waste management increasingly saw it as a central way to operate, to be efficient even in business for the bottom line, that they couldn't actually afford not to for themselves, for the earth. It'll be one of the greatest debates and problems to solve of our time. It's a matter of principle as much as it is economics, as much as it is theology, the way that we think about faith, the way that we think about our relationship with God, how we see an overflow or a sense of lack of possibility in our world in general. So when we consider that we, you and I, children in the family of God, are made in God's image, we can see that even in the cycle of all life that God has created, this cycle of life says differently that it's not just about the bottom line, but it is about so much more, a bigger picture. My mind isn't always lent toward remembering specific quotes in books, but there was one that really struck me when I read Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. And she talked about this natural revelation of God in all of creation that speaks to this reality of it being much more than we might reduce it to. She says, nature is above all wasteful and extravagant in itself. Don't believe them when they tell you how economical and thrifty the nature around us is, whose flowers bloom and leaves return to the soil. Wouldn't it be cheaper to leave them on the plant or the tree, unburdened and unbudded in the first place? This deciduous business alone is a radical scheme, the brainchild of a deranged, manic depressive deity with limitless capital. Extravagance? Nature will try anything once. So I want us to think about this way of wastefulness or extravagance that is assumed in the world. And I want you to think about experiences that you've had, whether it's receiving this wasteful, reckless, extravagant love, or perhaps even being the source of it for someone. I think about a few different situations that I've been on both sides of, and I'll just share some of these with you. Preparing a meal that is about 3 times the amount of food as those you're expecting to come, just in case there might be someone else that walks in the door like your mama told you. To always be prepared for the unexpected when you're having a party. So wasteful, people say. Think about those you might work with in business, walking down the street, that there's someone that is in need of a meal or a monetary gift, and everybody else easily walks down that street, but one of the group stops to see the person, to help them be known. Unbelievable. Giving one's life to a profession that won't exactly pay the bills or make mom or dad happy, but will feed other people's souls and that person's sense of purpose. Silly. The parent whose child broke trust in the most extreme of ways, and instead of meeting them with the blunt force of anger or expressed disappointment, this child is met with grace. Naive of the parent to do. Waiting a little bit longer for a blind date that isn't really going to show up. Ridiculous. Leaving a bigger tip that's required when you know you're never going to see this waiter or waitress again. Why? And loving someone, frankly, who won't love you back. Foolish. Some of these situations help us remember that our responses to these encounters or times in life say a lot, not only about what's happening outside, but what is inside too. And I know if we can get beyond, and when I try, as one Christian among you, to get beyond these assumptions of wastefulness or ridiculousness or foolishness in these moments, I can notice that there is a central belief when we can get beyond to believing that foolish love is possible and even needed in life, that there's a belief in a surprise in store from God every time. That someone new will show up to serve us a blessing and something new will happen, not like it's a transaction and that we expect something in return for this love that we offer, but simply because it's who God is, that we are often taken by exquisite surprise by what life brings us when only we stand attention and look for those who need to receive our love. And that somehow they will be more alive for having known that this kind of confounding love even exists in the world. We are those who are called to wait for each other, no matter how long it takes, wild and wise, or foolish and full of folly alike. There are countless stories in the Bible that speak to this foolish, wasteful love. Maybe you can think of some of them. One of them was in our devotional guide this past week with John chapter 2, the wedding feast with Mary and Jesus and the wine that ran out and it was flowing abundantly. We can think of the prodigal child coming back to his father, or Mary breaking the vessel of costly oil over Jesus. That foolish love creates a tremendous amount of wasteful grace, which sustains our life. And Rob Bell, whenever he was looking at this passage of the 10 virgins that Kyle read for us today, he helped us break open to some of the cultural customs that the people hearing this parable from the words of Jesus for the first time would have clued into and remembered and understood. He reminded us that in every betrothal and in every engagement, when the wedding was about to come, the bridegroom was to leave the bride and to begin the work of creating an extension with his father's house. so that there would be a place prepared for his spouse to be able to come and live with him. And in the meantime, the bride literally was sitting and waiting, much like Colleen was talking about at Chick-fil-A. I'd never heard of that before, but it was a great metaphor and image. And she waits with these 10 women alongside her with oil that they never knew they would quite have enough. But there was some kind of internal trust and belief in the promise that the bridegroom would come back just at the right time, that they would have everything that they would need to be able to meet this moment for the one whose life was about to change forever. This parable is all about how we're living in response to God's invitation of love, however it might be found. We're invited to be the ones who wait, to keep our lamps full with extra oil to burn or to release or to pour out or to share. It is this love, this unrestrainable, bold, expectant energy that really is in excess of potential in us. We have more of it than we could ever hope for. There's more than enough to share because in the human heart, it is never in limited supply because we are made in God's image to flow freely with this love from us without the interference of our own human calculations. It's not unusual to be hesitant to join in because with great love, even with a little bit of love offered, we risk any amount of pain. We risk loss, betrayal, rejection, brokenness. We've experienced all of these, and it's natural to want to pull into ourselves and keep the world out so as to keep from getting hurt again. But the parable is about us. It's about the wise and the foolish, and one of warning and urgency and urging us to be ready. The wise are living out this reality of the now, not knowing when the return will come, but also not needing to know because there's belief enough in what is at the moment. And then the foolish are living reservedly as if they can do something about their lamps tomorrow or later. The foolish delay and put off because the payoff isn't quite apparent right now, or the timing isn't convenient, or their hearts even are not ready. All of us have been in that place in one way, shape, or form. And I ask today, where are you? Which ones of us are waiting to pursue a conversation that needs to be had, waiting to apologize, waiting to deal with infidelity or mistrust, waiting to even care for ourselves? What dreams are we waiting to pursue? What risks are we not taking for the sake of the kingdom? What desires or hopes are we not voicing? No matter what state you and I are in, this meal prepared today is one that is meant for you and poured out for you and broken for you. And y'all come because there is more than enough. So here's the bottom line, friends, if we want to talk about that. Don't think too highly of your own ability to calculate and assess what expenditure of your love is beautiful and a blessing, and what is wasteful. When your love feels like a scarce resource, I'd ask you always to question it. Ask God to break your heart open from the reasons and the justifications and the evidence that might be plain as day and seem right and warranted to cling to and stay closed off. Because we can't afford it. For that intention and prayer alone may be our source of freedom that we need. In the name of God, who was and is to come. Amen.